So one of the things I'm going to kind of jump into here in a little bit is I'm going to jump into a PowerPoint, just one that I created, just real short, nothing really spectacular, but I think it'll kind of illuminate some of this for you anyway. I know this much. The whole damn thing is confusing even to me, so don't feel bad. All right. So we're here to talk about emoluments, or the Latin designation emolumentum, because obviously almost every word in the English language comes from somewhere else, which is, you know, many of us have our reservations about that, but anyway. So in order to begin, you have to have a cause of action, right? So what is your cause of action? Well, in this case, it was theft of my kids' money, right? Now I'm just a little miffed, to say the least. So I do what's called a compartmentalized audit, right? Get the information from them, their process, right? And here's what I find. You know, you've been through this before, so I'll be brief on that, but this is literally the cause of action. Now, because the word emolument, okay, the three elements that compose it in context of the Republic are advantage, profit, and gain. So somebody's using their position of advantage to profit and or gain based on what has transpired in my particular life, for lack of a better expression. So I do what I do, and you know, in the private sector, we begin what's called a research and development project. Now, their research and development can encompass many things, especially in the private sector, right? It could be anything from an idea all the way up to an aircraft carrier. I mean, and then just about anything in between, right? So, but everything has to have an origin point. In law, that's a cause of action. Those are listed as transactions, occurrences, or events, or some combination thereof, right? So, as the word emolument appears both in my oath of office and that of the judge in my case, well, further research into this word in context was certainly warranted, as we both appeared to have the same standing, but very different job descriptions in law. So again, some scientific process or way of testing it is definitely warranted. Now, of course, knowing what I knew about the monopolized, weaponized bar and all that crap, I mean, I hadn't really gone into all that yet, but I was aware of it. But, you know, how am I going to test this thing without a bar member? Because I know the bar is going to do nothing but corrupt it the same way they do everything else. So, again, here's my oath of office. And it's very short, very simple. It's a notary public in and for the state of Florida from October 26, 2017 through October 25, 2021. And in the name of the people of the state of Florida to have, hold, and exercise the said office and all the powers and responsibilities appertaining thereto, and to receive the privileges and emoluments thereof in accordance with the law. In testimony whereof, I do hereunto set my hand and cause to be affixed the great seal of the state of Tallahassee, or I'm sorry, the great seal of the state, Tallahassee, Florida. So this is literally my oath of office. So as you can see, the word appears in my oath of office. Well, what do we know about oaths? Well, this legal maxim, believe it or not, it does appear tangentially in the notary treaty, right? An oath has in it three components: truth, justice, and judgment. Truth in the party swearing, Justice and judgment in the judge or the person administering the oath. Well, if I'm going to be the guy administering the oath, I got to know what's, you know, what are the potential duties, ramifications, liabilities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, everything that goes with it. So again, part of my process. So when somebody said, going back to why I know the history of put your hand up and the whole branding and, all of that good fun type stuff. So upon reading the definition of the root word as written, I discovered the word contains three elements: advantage, profit, and gain. Right? There it is. This is from the Black's Law Dictionary. As a matter of fact, in Bovier's doesn't even use the word advantage. It just says profit or gain. So the word advantage isn't even in Bovier's. So now we have a discrepancy between Bovier's, Black's, and the etymology, which I'll get to in just a minute. So, because the dictionary in my hand contained in it three elements, okay, well, that is, to know a thing and to be bound to know it are regarded in law as equivalent. Of course, I'm bound to know that for two reasons. Number one, that oath of office. I also have this fiduciary duty, which basically is pretty much almost the same oath as the one I just read you, but it does have certain differences. But because this is pertaining to specific subject matter with respect to transactions of real property, right? So, this is where you start to get into, okay, we're going to do some math here, right? So, again, in order to rightly comprehend a thing, it is necessary to inquire into the names, for a right knowledge of things depends on their names. Seems like a pretty logical way to attack it as far as I'm concerned. So what does the law say, right? How many times have I said this along with Kirk in the show? Cite the law. Well, here's the law as far as the article that appears in the Constitution, also often referred to as the title of nobility clause, or now they're going to try to call it this foreign emoluments clause. Don't ask me where in the hell that thing converted itself, right? So again, we also discovered there is an amendment that somehow got, kicked under the rug, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it disappeared from history. So again, there's a lot of elements to this thing, right, that relate to this word and the duties and responsibilities of persons in positions of emolument. Well, persons in positions of emolument are basically persons in positions of advantage. Okay, well, you can't use your, obviously, to me, this is pretty much, again, common sense. You can't use your position of advantage today to, trespass the law and use that position as a weapon against another person. So, again, I do what I do. Here's what I do, right? I follow my process, which turns out to be due process of law as it's written, right? So I got an idea, right? I'll play Richard Cranium here. I'm going to talk about these advantages, profits, and gains. And here's how I recognize them, right, as working in the private sector, right? We've talked about this, market, margin, and capital. So these are things like jobs that build everything from roads, bridges to, again, battleships and aircraft carriers and everything in between. So, all of this stuff is relevant to every time there's a widget or a premise either created, altered in some way, or whatever. This is just how it works. It was that way before I was born. It's going to be that way long after I'm dead. Maybe. Anyway, I digress. So I go through and I begin the process, and of course the court sees that, says, you know what? This guy's actually pretty smart, and he's got a good point. So they issue this official mandate that says, yeah, this is going to be Mr. Howlett versus the department. So again, I go in and I ask a parliamentary inquiry. Okay, know the process. We've been through that on our show a few times. So follow that process, and I'm expecting, okay, I'm expecting the answer to be this, a subsidy, right? Because that's what we've always been told, at least in the private sector, that market margin and capital. Well, that's not what happened. This is what happened. So now what I have to do is I have to continue doing what I do, which is the study, right? Research and development. So I go in and I say, okay, let's look at the entire history of the word, okay, including from its origins in Latin, being emolumentum, right? So its original origins in Latin, under as defined as an emolumentum, are not just advantage, profit, and gain, but there's also this benefit. So now we've got this fourth element in here, right? That is outside of Republican in character and form, but it's definitely part of the history of the word. So, what does that look like? Okay, now there we go. So now we've got 4 elements and 3 pillars of law. Okay, well, moving forward, we now see the conflict between the stipends and the subsidies, right? And hence the 4-pillared representative democracy, which many of you who have seen my earlier post looks like this. This is the representative democracy corporation de facto government, blah, 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 with the alphabet soup agencies, and those are paid for by stipends from the Social Security Fund, right? So those are referred to now as entitlement programs. Wait, what? Well, there's where the word benefit fits and how they've managed to hide it, right? This is why digging this crap up again, you gotta, how many times have I said, I'm gonna yank this son of a bitch into the light as many times as it takes until we figure out who's doing what to whom and what right did these actors in positions of emolument have to steal from my ex-wife and my kids, because I have a problem with that. So say what you want about faux currency, and we talked about that on the Halloween special of the show last night. But it is what it is. So this is our system of government, right? Well, here's the conflict. We already know what its Republican in character and form is. So now what we're going to deal with is the process, right? Because now that we've shown that we have this bar doing what it does, okay, its process looks nothing like this process. They make up all these rules. There's even a live feed on it right now from Republicans, or I guess they're doing some kind of marathon or something. But anyway, so now we see the difference in the conflict between the 3 pillars of the Republic and the 4 pillars of the bar. So I said, this is starting to become a little bit more clear now. And where do these benefits and entitlement programs, how did this crap weasel its way back in? Basically the short version. Well, we brought up the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, right, last night. Was that Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5? And, Congress is supposed to be doing all that, but, the effect is in practice, it's done by the Fed, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, that's where the profit or gain, either one of those, more than likely the profit emoluments, because those are that's where your currency, your flow of money comes from, right? So basically kind of the short version of this is I'm really starting to really figure out, under this 4-pillared representative democracy SMU government de facto crap that is so repugnant in character and form, and everything from how it does business with relationships to policy to statutes, codes, rules, regulations. Well, for example, bills of attainder. We're not supposed to have bills of attainder. Why are there bills of attainder? And so on and so on and so on, right? So this is why I say, to say this is the confidence game trickery done by the confidence men, snake oil salesmen, you've been scammed by the useful bar idiots. I mean, we laugh. I can laugh about this all day, every day, from now until the end of time, because it's so obvious and self-evident that, when we go in and we start to cite the process, the fact that nobody's done it in so long, or very few people have done it, and the only ones who have done it, have manipulated it, are bar members, right? So they can change it, to fit whatever they want, right? They're claiming and exercising powers they ain't got. So, because that literally falls under page 25, section 16, where there is more than a mere technical violation of the rules of procedure, the violation may invalidate the act. However, and an act will be invalidated where there is fraud or bad faith. Okay, so again, what did we learn here? We don't need just fraud. We could have bad faith. Either one of both of those things will invalidate the act. So, again, to bring stuff like this forward, here's a good maxim of law to go with that. No one is liable for honest advice, but if fraud and cunning have occurred, an action for fraud is admissible. Again, this is in the Black's Law Dictionary. You can go verify this stuff. I didn't make this stuff up. These are things that were acquiesced to, right? They were already agreed upon. So, by this time, I've been called everything up to and including a white man for asking a simple question, right? That parliamentary inquiry about these stipends and where the hell this money is going to this welfare state, and why isn't it not going to my kids like it's supposed to be going there, right? So, again, talking about the cause of action, the theft, right? So now we start to see this, they're calling it in sovereign citizen. I call it an unauthorized invasion of body snatching. But that's just so. Again, citing the law, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5. This is what I was just talking about. We talked about this on the show last night. Congress is supposed to do this in practice. That's not what's happening. Here's how it relates to the courts, conduct of tyrants, how they manipulate the court. So now that we kind of got a feel for what's been going on, and technically speaking, now we know how they've overpowered the court. That's pretty significant stuff. So, there's one thing about me. There's nothing more than I love more than a good argument. I mean, it is what it is. I'm just that guy, especially if I know I'm right. If I know I'm right, I'm going to beat that sucker until it's dead. And I don't care how many times it takes. So people ask me, how can I be so calm and sarcastic about this? Because I already know the end result is the real answer. So, hence the bullet case and, like that. And I kind of love sarcasm because it's kind of like punching people in the face, but with words. So here we go with the petitions of remonstrance. I've prepared a few of these already. Here's the one that I prepared for going against the whole, crap in my case. As you guys already seen Nate's case, he'll be posting that this afternoon or this evening, maybe even, unless he already has. So the petition of remonstrance is, in essence, stating a lawful claim, defeating the typical Rule 12b-6 motion to dismiss, typically filed by bar members when we go after them, for a change. So, God forbid we would figure out a way to defeat their 12b motion to dismiss, because, now that you've officially stated your claim in a manner that the court can understand, basically the fact that, the template, the format of this comes from the court rules. So when a judge picks this thing up and says, yeah, that's a claim, right? So that's basically what the remonstrance is stating your claim, right? So Jurisdiction was already mandated when we walked into Congress, right? We talked about that, 28 USC 1443, because we wanted to build in protections for the criminal mechanism. We don't want a bunch of bad actors running around on the street, right? Because they were taking advantage of something that really didn't apply to them. So this is the political tic-tac-toe and the three factions and where all that comes from, and what that looks like, because this is in essence what we're fighting over, right? Those entitlement programs, right? So the fact that we have gotten so far away of our Republican character and form is, so self-evident. That's why I say I can go down through this sucker and say, you know what, they're using this thing like a checklist, the Declaration of Independence. This is, of crap to do. So, I walk in with a simple question of, oh yeah, who stepped on the Lego, right? So, and I'm called everything from a sovereign citizen to some things that are probably not, I'll just say, Republican in character and form. Let's just put it that way. So I just wanted to come in and kind of drop this by you guys real quick, because I'm going to go ahead and stop this now, and of course the recording as well, because I'm going to post this to YouTube later. But I'm going to come in and I'm going to start answering some questions.